I recreated Green Day's 21 Guns. Let's take a listen.
21 guns, lay down your arms, give up the fight.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Make the Music. On this channel, I show you how you can produce amazing sounding music in your home studio. And today I went on to recreate Green Day's 21 Guns, an amazing track, really iconic of that late 2000s Chris Lord Algae pop punk style production. Also an amazing band with an amazing written song. I completely recreated it in my DAW here. I want to break down all the virtual instruments, amps, plugins I used to recreate that sound. But before that, you should subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I also have a free guide called the Home Studio Toolbox, which is a free guide that gives you all the free tools, software that you need to start making music in your home studio. I want to help you out with that and send you that free gift. Anyways, let's jump into the DAW. Let's see what I did with this session to recreate that Green Day sound. Okay, so I'm in my DAW here. Let's go through everything that I did to recreate the sound. We're going to start off with the master bus chain. This is what the entire mix is going through. So I'm using Virtual Mix Rack here. I know Chris Lord Algae, who mixed this album, he mixed the whole, he mixed American Idiot, and then he mixed this 21 Guns track as well. So I'm using Virtual Mix Bus. I'm using the Brit 4KE. That's just SSLE channel, virtual console, and then I'm boosting a little bit of top end here. Then heading in with the EQ, I added some low mid information. The SSL compressor, of course, which is doing about 4 dB of gain reduction. Let's see what that's doing here.
21 guns,
So it's actually doing a little bit more than that. So it's hitting the track pretty hard. I have a limiter going. I'm using ToneForge DI match just to EQ match the track with the reference, which was the original track, a little bit, just to get it a little closer. And I'm using FGX2, which is the Slate's sort of mastering maximizer plugin. I throw that on the master bus just to get it at the right level so I could 100% match that reference track. So if I take all the master bus plugins off, it's going to sound quite a bit different.
21 guns, lay down your arms, give up.
So something like a master bus chain makes a big difference on my mixes, and it helps you get to that final level of mastering and production value. Okay, now let's get into the drum sound, a Trey Cool drum sound, right? I'm using Superior Drummer 3 on this track here. I'm using the Pop Punk kit, of course, right? Why not? I'm using the Pop Punk preset in the Pop Punk Easy X, which is a part of Superior Drummer 3. The kick and snare sound like this. I have 2 toms going on, and then a number of cymbals. Pretty basic kit setup overall. The kick is just the kick 1 and then snare 3. That's going through the mixer, so that has all the presets that come with Superior Drummer 3 in that preset for the Pop Punk. So it has all that processing applied, but I am doing a bit of processing here as well in my DAW. So if we break it down here, let's go look in on the kick. I got a few plugins going on, some EQ, taking out some low mid information, adding some more top end. And I'm using CLA Mixup. I use as many CLA plugins as possible because, hey, he mixed this track. He's got a specific sound. Just boosted some more top there, took out some more low mid information. So the kick sounds like this. In context with the rest of the kit, it sounds like this. It has that massive sound, but it's also super punchy, right? And that's what we need in a pop punk track for sure. The snare, I'm using CLA Mix Hub, adding some mid-range, taking out some low mids. They sound pretty good out of the box, honestly, in Easy Drummer, Superior Drummer 3. Just a little extra processing to get it over. So that's the snare by itself, and then I add some overhead processing, it looks like. Just a little bit multi-band for the cymbals that were getting out of control, and then a little scooping there on the overheads. So that's kind of the main drum sound. I also have some processing on the drum bus itself, just using virtual mix rack, adding more top end and needing more attack, and a little drum bus parallel compression, which is CLA is known to do every once in a while. It's especially really slamming that snare because it can get really pokey when it has all that top end and all that attack on it, but it's really making it come together. And then what I added is, if you notice in the track, there's actually some extra tracked toms panned right and left. And those sound like this in my track here. That was just the standard Easy Drummer kit. I just tracked some toms real quick. EQ and limiter to keep them from poking out, because toms can get real pokey if you're not careful. So the whole drum sound kind of sounds like this. Sounds pretty good to me. Let's get to bass guitar. Mike Dirnt, iconic bass player, excellent for the genre, knows what he's doing. Let's dive into the bass sound here. I'll just play you some parts so you can get an idea what it sounds like on its own. He's definitely known for that top end attack bass sound, but also has a nice beefy low end to fill out the track. What kind of processing do I have on here? Well, for the DI, I just slapped on the CLA 76 just to give the DI some leveling out there. And then the amp, I'm doing some process to that as well. So I know that Mike Dirnt, for his bass sound, it's usually a mix of a DI and an amp sound. CLA 76 before it even hits the amp, and I'm using Amplitude 5, SVT style amp here. A lot of mid-range, needed a lot of mid-range. I messed with cabs a lot. I ended up using the supersized SVX cab. Worked pretty well on the sound. So the amp signal sounds like this. It's up much higher than the DI sound. So that's the entire bass guitar sound. I'm using Virtual Mix Rack to give it some processing, like virtual drive, virtual channel. Using Mix Hub, of course, adding tons of like upper mid top there. So if I take all the processing off, the bass guitar got immediately more interesting. CLA 76, of course, almost maxing it out there. And then multi-band just to rein in those low information there. So the drums and bass, they sound pretty massive together. So that's working pretty well there. There's a piano as well, especially during the verse parts and then swelling into the chorus. It sounds like this. It was just an addictive keys patch, and then there is a swell, which I have somewhere located here. A reverse piano swell, I have it under FX. That was just me taking some reverb, hitting reverse and Reaper. Pretty straightforward there, but is very necessary for the track. You can definitely hear it in there. Now let's get on to the Green Day guitar sound, okay? Iconic guitar sound, Billy Joe Armstrong. He's known for using Marshalls. He's known for using Les Paul Juniors. Here's what the guitars sound soloed. Super punchy. What did I do? Well, for the rhythms, I have two different sets of rhythm guitars. So it was quad tracked. One set is using Marshall sound. I end up using the JCM Slash actually for this tone. And it has the vintage overdrive on it. This is the JCM Slash. You could probably use any Marshall to get this sound, but I end up using the Slash one. And then for the second tone, we actually use a high watt amp. And so I read up a lot on this guitar tone, 421 Guns. And apparently they were using a combination of a Marshall and a high amp. And the combination of those tones really is what gives this punchy yet mid-range focused guitar sound with a little bit of clarity as well. So this is the high amp settings. Same thing, has a drive pedal on it. Really, this is just like a stock high amp cab. And so the Marshalls by themselves sound like this. A lot of attack, but then the high watts, they just have a darkness and crunchiness to them that really adds a lot to this track. For processing, Virtual Mix Rack, similar to what I did with the bass. For the Mix Hub, adding lots and lots of top. Okay, really needed to push through in this track and not get buried. Even adding lows, filtering a little bit on the top and high end, and then doing a little bit of compression on the CLA 76 here. So this is the blue CLA 76. So that's actually quite a bit of compression on these guitars. I felt like it needed it and needed to jump out and attack. So if I take all the plugins off, they sound like this. Add the plugins back in.
One.
A similar approach here with the leads. I believe it was all the same tracks. I just ended up bouncing them down using very similar processing, just adding CLA Epic stereo to give it some ambience there. So the leads sound like this. Really simple line, just kind of double track there in the center. There's also acoustic guitars in the verse and the chorus part. Really luscious, clean sounding acoustics. They sound like this soloed. They have that heavily compressed, bright CLA sound, which is what I tried to achieve. Virtual mix rack, doing some distressor, adding shimmer and thickness to the revival. I find that when you're just using an acoustic guitar, it's just going into a mic. It really needs some freshness to it. It needs to have some of that analog feel as well to take away those transients. Also adding a lot of top end, taking out some low mids, fresh air to brighten it up. EQ, notching out some frequencies in my room. My room's not perfect, okay? So I got to take out some low mids, got to take out some mid information. Now using LA, this is a free compressor limiter plugin, and it's incredible. I automatically throw this on acoustic guitars basically every time. It sounds incredible. So if I take all the plugins off, not bad sounding by any stretch. But they needed their own place to live amongst the pianos and the other electric guitars. So we really wanted that percussive flavor.
When you're at the end of the road.
Also in the verse parts, there's clean guitars. I'm just using a Marshall amp for that. I bounce those down, CLA 76 to add compression. That's all that's going on with the cleans there. Now we'll finally get to the vocals. The Billy Joe Armstrong vocal sound, especially on it like we get on American Idiot, the Trilogy, 21st Century Breakdown. He has a sort of similar vocal sound on those because those were all CLA mixed as well. This verse vocal here soloed sounds like this.
When you're at the end of the road, no sense of control. When you're at the end of the road, and you've lost all sense of control.
Okay, so what am I doing with these vocals? One, I tracked with a little bit of compression on, used Reaper stock compression to reel it in. So this is a condenser mic, but you can see the peaks are kind of leveled out because I did track with a bit of compression. I'm using a bit of tuning, Reatune and Metatune, just to give the vocal to sit right in the mix. I'm no Billy Joe Armstrong, so I used a bit of tuning there. A lot of plugins on this master vocal chain, I should say. Virtual mix rack, I use the Neumann mic emulation here to give it a darkness. Virtual mix rack, like a preamp 1073 style thing. I always track into the distressor in the virtual mix rack just to take off shave the peaks of the vocal. Then add a lot of top end because the Neumann's going to really darken it, add a lot of body, which is what I want, but we need that top end back in. So that's what the virtual mix rack is doing. CLA 76, of course, CLA mix, right? I'm going to use CLA 76 to compress the vocal. It sounds really good, especially on, parts where we go up and the vocal gets more aggressive. It just is the sound of sort of rock vocals, right?
Nothing's ever built to last.
I used LA again to add even more gain reduction. EQ, the vocal has a almost filtered sound, which is really interesting, really like low mid-range push on these records. So I did a bit of filtering, added some mid-range de-essing, just Reaper stock de-esser. Limiter to rein that vocal in at all times.
Nothing's ever built to last. You're in ruins.
CLA is known to even use this plugin. CLA Epic, of course, right? To give it that slap plate sort of sound. So like if I took that off.
Nothing's ever built to last.
Just gets that vocal to sit in the mix. And then Silk Vocal to rein out any harsh frequencies peeking through.
Nothing's ever built to last. You're in ruin.
In terms of vocal arrangement, there's actually quite a few vocals, especially in the chorus part here.
121 guns.
So I have some doubles, left and rights here.
21 guns. Lay down your arm.
I track some additional harmonies during that part.
21 guns. Lay down your arm. arms, give up the fight.
A low octave part.
21 guns.
And then there's sort of this backup ah part during the, I would say, middle parts of the chorus here. That sounds like this, and it's just a bunch of harmonies, basically. So you put that all together, and you get a sound like this in the chorus.
21 guns, lay down your arms, give up the fight. One.
Put it all together, and you get a sound that's like this.
21 guns, lay down your arms, give up the fight. One.
There you go. That is the 21 Guns Green Day sound. Let me know in a comment, how close did I get here? Did I miss anything? I feel like I got pretty darn close when I A/B'd both the tracks there, especially since this is a high level, high quality production with amazing mixing engineers, amazing songwriters, and players on this track. So let me know in a comment, what song would you like to see next on Match the Song? I always love exploring different kinds of production and seeing if I can master them. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We're going to do a full playthrough here of the song so you can see what I did. And anyways, I'll see you guys next time.
When you're at the end of the road and you've lost all sense of control and your thoughts have taken their toll, when your mind breaks the spirit of your soul, your faith walks on broken glass, and the hangover doesn't pass. Nothing's ever built to last. You're in ruins. One.